Hey class, welcome back to World History 1. I hope everyone is doing well today. Last time we looked at Julius Caesar, at his life and his accomplishments all the way to his death. And today we're going to be looking at his successor, who is his adopted son, and that is Caesar Augustus. Stay tuned for the PowerPoint. Okay, class, we're now going to move into Rome Part 5. Okay, so what takes place after Julius Caesar? If you remember last time, we finished up with Julius Caesar being assassinated, and then really what happens is before Caesar Augustus comes to power, there's civil conflict, which actually lasts about 13 years. During this time, senators fled, the government was really fractured. There was really no contingency plan for what would happen after the assassination of Julius Caesar, so really what happened is a power vacuum occurs, and it leaves a power vacuum, and whenever there's supposed to be a leader, there's going to be a power vacuum. Someone will become the leader. That's how it usually always is. And in this power vacuum, we see the rise of the emperor. So the heir apparent was Mark Antony, but the heir per Julius Caesar's will was 18-year-old Octavian. Well, Mark Antony goes and joins the forces with Cleopatra and battled Octavian at the Battle of Actium, Greece, in 31 BC. Well, Octavian wins, and he quickly consolidates all his power. And in 27 BC, he takes over and takes the title Augustus. So his name is Caesar Augustus. And he is a strong leader, and he will actually lead the empire for 45 years and really consolidate his power. His policies would actually guide the Roman Empire for the next 3 centuries. So very powerful man, really a good administrator and setting up the empire, which would continue on for 300 years. Okay, so here's a statue of Caesar Augustus. It's Augustus of Prima Porta. It's 6 feet 10 inches tall, and it's a first century statue of him, which is in excellent condition. And it was actually discovered in the 19th century, and today it is housed in the Vatican Museum in Rome. And down at the bottom of the statue, just kind of interesting, is Cupid. And usually you think of Cupid with wings and flying around with a little bow and arrow to have people fall in love. Well, Cupid here, the god of desire and erotic love, he's actually riding a dolphin. And there's no real reason or understanding of why that's down there. So most art historians believe it was just there for structural support of the statue itself. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. But that's a very well-known statue of Caesar Augustus, and it's in the Vatican today. Okay, so you see there at the top of the screen his dates, 63 BC to 14 AD. He was born Gaius Octavius in 63 BC, and he was the adopted son of Julius Caesar. And when he comes to power, he is actually the first Roman emperor. So if you're ever asked who was the first Roman emperor, it's Caesar Augustus. It's not Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar set it up that his adopted son would become the next leader. But remember, Julius Caesar belonged to the first triumvirate, and he was in power through that. And even though towards the end of his reign, when he was assassinated, he was pretty much doing things by edict, really they didn't have an emperor until Caesar Augustus takes over, and he is the first Roman emperor. Well, he redesigned the ruling structure. And so basically what he did was he designed it as a monarchy with an emperor in charge, basically, but it was disguised as a republic. So there would still be some kind of a government under him, but he would be the one calling the shots. He placed loyal elites in positions of power across the empire. So political, civil, military, these people are loyal to him, and they're all across the empire, and they'll basically do what Caesar wants. And basically what he said, they did. And it created a very powerful standing army. All the soldiers and all the commanders of the army swore an oath to Caesar Augustus. Well, one of the things that takes place under his rule is what is called Pax Romana. And this is just part 1 of part 2 of Pax Romana. Part 2 we'll look in the next PowerPoint. But we're going to look here at part 1 of Pax Romana. Just to introduce the topic here for the class. So Pax Romana means Roman peace. So in Latin, Pax means peace, so it's Roman peace is what Pax Romana means. The entire empire was basically ruled in peace. And what I mean by that is the Roman legions were on the outskirts of the empire and were holding back the barbarians and conquering areas out on the fringes of the empire. But what takes place under Caesar Augustus, because there's a centralized government under an emperor, within the interior part of the Roman Empire, especially on the boot of Italy and in the city of Rome itself, there weren't many problems. There was no danger of any kind of invasion from some sort of barbarian group or anything like that. They really had a stable empire, and it's going to continue on there for a couple more centuries. So it's a really stable empire, and it's ruled in peace. And trade and communication from the Atlantic Ocean to Mesopotamia just really thrived. And there's major cities, including Rome, that is a crossroads for trade and obviously ideas and communication. And one of the things that takes place is the Romans develop a Roman road system, and you may have heard of that. And you might be more familiar with the Roman road plan of evangelism in the book of Romans, how to lead a person to Jesus Christ. But the Roman road system basically means, and you probably heard of this down there at the very bottom of the screen, all roads lead to Rome. So the Roman road system was very well constructed and well used road system to communicate ideas and trade. There was also cultural, religious, and political unity across the empire, and basically everyone supported the emperor and focused on the emperor. And there was religious unity. The Romans would just envelope in a lot of different gods and make them their own gods. Definitely did that with Greece. The Greek gods became Roman gods. Basically, it was the same god, but just a different name. And so there was cultural, religious, and political unity throughout the empire. There were two languages used in the empire, and the languages were Latin and Greek. Of course, on the street level in some of these areas, there would be the indigenous language, the language of the people that were conquered or taken over. But for the main part, Latin and Greek was used. Especially with trade and communication, Latin and Greek was used. And then Rome's population passed 1 million residents, that's very large, and all roads lead to Rome. So obviously we can't move on without talking about Caesar Augustus when we see him in the Bible. So obviously he was the emperor when Jesus was born. And so here's just a picture of Mary and Joseph coming to find a place to stay for the night. And obviously the inn was full. And so they go to the stable to where Jesus is going to be born. But in Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 7, we see Caesar Augustus there. It says here in the Bible, "And it came to pass in those days that a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. This census first took place while Quirinius was governing Syria. So all went to be registered, everyone to his own city. Joseph also went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed wife, who was with child. So it was that while they were there, the days were completed for her to be delivered, and she brought forth her firstborn son and wrapped him in swaddling clothes and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn." So just a quick snapshot there of the Christmas story. And you see Caesar Augustus was emperor at the time that Jesus was born. And again, that's why I love the Bible. This is secular history that I'm teaching about Caesar Augustus and Rome, the Roman Empire. And you just look at it, it just fits right there with the Bible. Okay, like I said, the Roman roads were very important to the Romans, and it's a complex network of roads that connected all parts of the empire. And the roads were basically constructed with a deep gravel bed, paved with flat stone pavers, and then even some of them had curbs, and they were very well constructed. The main roads were 26 feet wide for two-way traffic, and they had milestone markers, so every mile they would have a marker, and they would also have postal stations along the road. And Tiberius, who was actually going to be coming up as the next emperor, he traveled 180 miles in one day. And so you think about that in the time period and the mode of transportation with horse and all of that, he was able to travel 180 miles in one day. That's pretty impressive that he could go that far in one day. Okay, so just continuing with the Roman roads, 1,554 miles stretched from the Black Sea to the North Sea, and then 2,983 mile stretch ran from the top of North Africa, or along the top of North Africa, And then when a road ran into the sea, they made a shipping lane across to a port on the other side of the waterway. And obviously, with the Mediterranean Sea there in the center of the Roman Empire in the Mediterranean basin, the Mediterranean Sea was called by the Romans Mare Nostrum, which means our sea. So they basically looked at it as owning it. So where a road ran into the ocean, they would just go across to the next port, and the road would continue. And you definitely would see that in Gaul, or which is France. And you cross over the English Channel, and then you continue on, because the Romans did take a good part of the island of Britain, all the way up to a wall which is called Hadrian's Wall, where that was the farthest reach of their empire in Britain. So you just see how vast and long these roads are. Here's a map. Again, just someone has put these lines on the map, but you can just see this one single road across the top of North Africa. So again, really a long road. And you have from the Black Sea right here, and it just continues all the way up here to the North Sea. And then, in France, northern France here, they would just cross over the English Channel, and this is the island of Britain, and it would go up to about here and stop. Well, that's basically where Hadrian's Wall is. So you see a very, very long road system, and it was used to basically have communication and trade for many of the cities across the Roman Empire. But definitely you can see right here Rome, and look at all these roads coming together at the city of Rome. So all roads lead to Rome. Okay, so here's a Roman road in Italy today. So again, very well built. And they have rocks on the side. I don't know if those are original or whatever, but this road itself is original from the Roman time period. And here's a Roman road in Great Britain that still exists. And this one here actually has a drainage trough down here in the center, so let the water run. You can see it's kind of on a slope, so the water would run off the road and not pool up. But definitely a drainage trough there in the center of the road. And that is it for Rome Part 4. I'll see you in a second. Okay, class, that's it for today. Next time, we'll be concluding our look at the Roman Empire, and we'll be looking at Roman expansion, or the Roman culture, and a brief look at the list of emperors of the first century. See you then.